Welcome to our foreign exchange market presentation. My name is Vân and today I and my team will be analyzing two pairs of currencies which are AUD to USD and AUD to Euro. Firstly, we will compare the AUD to USD to propose a forecast for future exchange rates by investigating four determinants which are interest rates, inflation rates, commodity price, and historical exchange rates. The first factor that influences the national currency is the relative interest rates. The higher interest rate make it more attractive to foreign investors and also local citizens to invest in the domestic financial market, as they want to take advantage of the higher interest rate for better returns. This increases capital inflow while at the same time discourage the capital outflow. And as long as the supply of currency does not rise, the value of the national currency must increase. According to the Reserve Bank of Australia, the current interest rate is recorded unchangeably at 1.5% in 2018. Besides, in March 2018, the central banks of the United States, which is Fed, introduced the federal fund rate to a range of 1.5 to 1.75%, and this is the highest rate in the US since the fall of the global financial crisis. If the Australian interest rate remain unchanged and the statistics of US rise more quickly than people have been expecting, then investors are eventually going to shift their cash there to trade the higher returns. As that happens, AUD will suffer the decrease in its value while the USD will begin to be appreciated as the demand for it is
My name is Quang and today I will talk about inflation rate. This graph represents the inflation rate between US and AUS over the decade. According to the Trading Economics, the inflation rate is calculated using the price increase of a defined product basket. This product basket contains products and services on which the average consumer spends money throughout a year. At this general level, the fact that both Australian and United States underlying inflation picked up in 2008 and then subsequently declined. In the period immediately prior to the North Atlantic financial crisis, global commodity prices were rising strongly. The unemployment rate in Australia and United States has fallen to its lowest level in more than 3 decades, and there was a considerable pressure on capacity in the economy. The result was a pickup in inflation. Then, when the slowdown occurred, pressures on capacity eased and global commodity price fell. Again, not surprisingly, the result was a moderation in inflation. At the first glance in 2009 until now, the inflation rates grow unstably and have a chance to increase. However, in general, US inflation rate always higher than Australia. According to Stephen Kokoras, the Australia domestic economy is weaker and the unemployment rate is higher than US. Moreover, Australian consumer spending only a little bit higher than their income.
Now, today I will talk about the commodity price. Australian famous of the natural resources. In the beginning of 2010, Australian commodity price also affected negatively by the dropping price of oil, coal, and iron ore. The main reason of Australian get damaged by the dropping price is because the contribution of oil and ore is respectively high, 29% and 26% according to World Export Organization. Analysts say that there will be the price drop in the agricultural product and mineral due to the decreased demand of China and the US. Therefore, the forecast for Australian export will be declined because the demand for Australian dollar also dropped in the world market. It can be said that the Australian exchange rate and commodity price is expected to fall. Next is about the historical exchange rate. Look at the graph, we can see that during the financial crisis in 2008, Australian economy also affected slightly due to the depreciation of AUD against USD in this period of time. The pickup AUD value against USD was in the mid of 2011. Because of dropping price and changing product demand of China and the US, also AUD value fluctuated unexpected in the last 3 or 4 years. In conclusion, Our group expects that the exchange rate of AUD against USD will depreciate in the future. Next up is about our second pair. We will talk about the historical exchange rate, economic growth in GDP, its interest rate, and inflation rate. First is about the history of AUD versus Euro. Like AUD against USD, the value of Australian dollar also decreased in 2008, but improved significantly and had a peak in 2012. AUD against Euro rates fluctuate between 0.63 to 7.6 in the recent year. Martin of SMH News also point out that AUD against Euro is expected to be continuing reduced because of priority of market Asia compared to European. Secondly, the economic growth of Australia, although get affected by global crisis in 2008, is reduced slightly from 2008 and 2009. After the crisis, Australian GDP developed significantly and get a peak in 2013. In contrast, the reduction can be seen in the GDP between 2014 until now. The RBA thinks that GDP of Australia may have a positive trend in GDP due to the recent data of Westpac leading index report, but it should have Australian GDP slightly increased 1% compared to last year. About the Euro, they also get hit by global financial crisis in 2008. Then a European GDP recovered in 2012 and grew constantly from 2012 to 2014. In 2015, due to the Brexit process of the UK, Euro also affected by the process, led to the drop in significant in GDP. But they quickly familiar with the situation and recover from 2016 until now. According to the economists, Dugan expect GDP of Euro keep increasing in the next 5-year period because of improving performance of job number and health service and housing.
As you can see from the table, as of October 2016, Europe had an interest rate of 0%, which means that the central banks and private banks here will pay no interest to their depositors. This also means that instead of receiving interest payment from loans, the bank have to lend the money to the borrower with no cost. Therefore, this leads to the decrease in the value of euro, as anyone can borrow it without being worried of paying interest back. Besides, as the Australian cash rate is 1.5%, which is higher than Europe. Hence, if overseas investors decide between holding their finance in Australian or European banks, any would choose Australian banks as they offer greater interest on the saving and also greater returns. This is expected to create greater demands for AUD and cause the appreciation of euro.
Now I'm going to analyze the inflation rate between Australia and Europe Union. According to Clem Chappell, the ongoing Eurozone crisis, which initially emerged in 2009, has dramatically affected most countries in the European Union. The crisis primarily prevented many countries from refinancing the debt without help from a third party and slowed economic growth throughout the entire Europe. As a result, general gross debt escalated annually in the euro area and more prominently in the Europe. That led to the inflation rate of Europe Union and Australia soared up to nearly 5.5% and 5% representative. After that, both of economy have a side of decrease from over 5% to 1.2% in 2009. From 2010 to 2018, there was a huge significant difference between Australia and Europe Union inflation rate. From my point of view, in the period between 2012 and 2014, the inflation rate had against each other. In 2012, when the inflation rate of Australia started to rise up from 1.2 to 3%, Euro Union decreased from about 3.9% to 1.9% in the end of 2014, mostly because of the unemployment rate was rising and the monetary policy, which is spending cuts and tax increase are causing a significant drop in demand. To conclude, based on our determined above, we will forecast that the foreign exchange rate between Australian dollar against euro will appreciate.